Okay, guys, today we're going through our last lesson for Chapter 4. We're going to be talking about homeostatic imbalances of the skin. Now, let's start out with some infections. Now, one of the more common ones that we see is athlete's foot, or the proper name is tinea pedis. This is caused by fungus that grows primarily in between toes and gives that itching feeling. Now, the reason that it can grow so easily is typically most fungi will actually thrive in areas where there is a high moisture content and an absence of light. And there isn't really much better place on the human body than inside a shoe with a sock on for that to happen. Okay, so boils and carbuncles. So if you get, one of these big bumps where it swells up and is dome shaped, that's going to be a boil and a carbuncle. Those are caused by a bacterial infection. And cold sores caused by the common cold virus, that can form around the lips. That's going to be caused by a virus. Contact dermatitis. So when you touch something that you have an allergic reaction to, like poison ivy, poison oak, something like that. Cats, dogs. If you have those allergies, that's considered contact dermatitis. Now, I do want to talk about impetigo for a minute. So impetigo is caused by a bacterial infection, primarily by Staphylococcus aureus, or what we commonly call staph. Now, impetigo is a very, very big contentious issue in elementary schools because it typically will come about on the face. And I'm sure we all know little kids, they're constantly touching their face. So what happens is, one kid touches something, they touch their face, and it's spread very, very quickly. And they have to work very hard to keep it from spreading anymore. Psoriasis. Now, the cause of psoriasis is actually unknown. There is certainly a lot of research done into it and also into medicines that can help cure it. It's triggered by everything from trauma, other infections, not even of the dermis, and stress as well. Okay, so we can see here just some pictorial representations of this. We have general cold sores. Impetigo, you can see growing in this circular motion, so the bacteria will infect the skin and then grow outwards. And then psoriasis right here. All right, so let's talk about burns. Now, with burns, tissue damage and cell death caused by heat, electricity, UV radiation, or chemicals. Okay, so all of those things can cause burns. The dangers that come with it are going to be dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, which can lead to dehydration, and then circulatory shock as well. So the way to determine how extreme a burn is using the rule of nines. Okay, so I'm sure you've all heard the term, I got a second degree burn or a third degree burn. Well, let's talk about how we actually qualify those. Now, figure 4.11a shows the rule of nines. So these 11 parts or 11 divisions of the body making up these different percentages. So you can see that we have 4.5% on the front of the head, 4.5% on the back of the head and neck. So that gives us 9%. Anterior and posterior upper limbs, 18. Anterior and posterior trunk, 36. Each leg being 18%, and then the perineum or the genitalia for males and females respectively being 1%. Now, with our first degree burns, only the epidermis is damaged. Skin will be red and swollen. So if you touch a hot pot for just a second, that may give you a first degree burn. Now, a second degree burn occurs when both the epidermis and the upper dermis are damaged. The skin will be red with blisters. So if you are standing next to a fire in the wintertime and you try to pick up a hot stick that you think may be cool and your hand begins to blister, that's going to be a second degree. Okay, so with a third degree, though, it's going to destroy the entire skin layer, so all of both the epidermis and the dermis. The burn is gray, white, or black. Now, we have these pictures right here. So your common sunburn right here, this will be a first degree burn. This right here appears to be some type of hot liquid that got on someone's forearm, and you can see a few blisters through here. In this last picture, now what we're seeing here is actually clothing that was on someone that was synthetic. And when those synthetic fibers caught on fire, it actually melted to the skin. Okay, so people who work in professions where they have to be exposed to high heat, like a firefighter, their clothes are very specially designed to obviously not allow this to happen, not have as many synthetic fibers in there, and certainly ones that are at least burn resistant. So let's talk about how we consider burns to be critical. So if 25% of the body has second-degree burns, so we could assume, if one of the legs had at least a second-degree burn, that would be critical. Or 10% of the body has third-degree burns. Okay. Now, if there are third-degree burns on the face, hands, or feet, it is automatically considered a critical burn. So even if it is, just a spot that's maybe 5 centimeters in diameter, but it's a third-degree burn on the cheek, that would be considered a critical burn. Okay, now let's talk about skin cancer. Now, we already know that cancer is an abnormal cell mass because of a lack of regulated cell cycle. Now, we classify them in two ways. Benign, meaning they do not spread, and malignant or metastasize, meaning it can move to other parts of the body. So skin cancer is the most common type of cancer that we find in humans. We're going to talk about a couple of different types. So let's start with our basal cell carcinoma. It is the least malignant. It's also the most common type, and it'll arise from the stratum basal layer. Okay, and it forms this reddish, kind of orangish dome that we see. Okay, so this is on the nostril, most likely from sun exposure, prolonged sun exposure, giving rise to that. Now, with our squamous cell carcinoma, it metastasizes to lymph nodes if not removed. Once it gets into the lymph nodes, it can wreak havoc in the body. The lymph nodes are going to be part of our immune system. Obviously, we don't want to have issues with that. Comes from the stratum basal, and again, most likely are going to be sun-induced. Okay, so you see here, instead of being this red dome structure, we have this red spot with some black within as well. So malignant melanomas, they are the most deadly of our skin cancers. It's a cancer of the melanocytes, and they metastasize rapidly to both our lymph and blood vessels. And when we find them, we use what's called the ABCD rule. Okay, so we can see right here, this is a picture of someone with a melanoma on their toe. And we can we'll come back to this picture in a minute to examine the ABCD rule. So A is for asymmetry, meaning that two sides of the pigmented mole do not match. B is for border irregularity. Borders of the mole are not smooth. C is for color. There's different colors in the pigmented area. And D, meaning the diameter, spot is larger than 6 millimeters in diameter. So if we go back to this picture real quick, this picture will satisfy all of those. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below, or you can email me at mr.tucker.schs@gmail.com.